Hello, my name is Austin Osueke. I'm the publisher of eigoMANGA, and our panel is with De'Aaron Fox, NBA superstar with the Sacramento Kings. We're going to talk about his fandom for anime, video gaming, and how it's an influence in his NBA career with the Sacramento Kings. We're all working on a comic put together called Swipa The Fox, so he's accompanied by his members of his inner circle, Chris Gaston of Family First, and Natashia McGough Clarke, also writer for the comic book series Swipa The Fox. Beforehand, visit egomanga.com to learn more about our productions and any other announcements that we're engaged in. Without further ado, here's our panel with De'Aaron Fox. Thanks for coming. Thanks for having us. We appreciate the time. We already know about you being a big fan of anime and all that stuff, but can you tell us more about your background with how you got started to anime when you were growing up?
Yeah, I kind of did it because my brother was doing it. So I have an older brother, who's about 5 years older than me, and basically whatever he would watch, I would watch, and that's kind of how it went. And then once he went to college and left the house, I started to watch. I started to watch it on my own and really started to dive in it more. With Dragon Ball, I went all the way back to the beginning of Dragon Ball when he was a kid, and during one summer, I binge watched all of that, all of Dragon Ball Z, all the movies, everything. So once I start on the show, I just keep going.
So what year was that?
I want to say I did that maybe it was either my freshman summer going into my sophomore year of high school or sophomore summer going into my junior year. It was one of those summers.
So how did watching anime and maybe even playing games, how did that did that interfere or strengthen your aspirations for playing basketball?
Oh, I mean, no, I mean, I think with a lot of things, with a lot of things in life, you really, separate the two. Like if I'm off the court, wanting to watch a show or read something, that pretty much had nothing to do with basketball. So I wouldn't really say that it affected what I did on the court or any training time. It's just if I'm at home, if I'm not working out at the time, then that was pretty much what I was trying to do.
Cool. All right. So aside from Dragon Ball growing up, what were any other favorites that you liked or that
I
you
watched
remember?
Naruto a little bit. I actually started Attack on Titan maybe 2 years ago, I think. And then I remember Seven Deadly Sins came to Netflix. Might have been a freshman in college. I think it was the year I was in college. So I watched that. But it wasn't really too many things. Like Dragon Ball was one thing that really took over for me, and then obviously things like Avatar and Legend of Korra. Obviously it's not, technically anime, but those are things that I really liked watching. Way back.
Cool. So how do you follow anime now?
Man, the show's just getting too many. It's been too many episodes, so I haven't started anything new. I'm waiting for I think the third season of Seven Deadly Sins to go on Netflix. It might have already gone, but I mean, I watch it whenever I can. I got my fiance watching Dragon Ball all the way through right now, so we've been watching that actually recently.
Oh, I see. So, well, I'm a Dragon Ball fan myself, and you always associate yourself with Vegeta. So, um, why Vegeta over Goku or Trunks or anyone else?
Just for what he had to go through. Obviously, he was a prince, and you would think of things like that, and Goku, was a lower level guy when he was born, but from what we see, from majority of the story, Vegeta's playing catch up a lot. Goku's the one who gets basically all the help in the world, training with gods and doing things like that. And, Vegeta right now, and at the time, Vegeta's just trying to get it on his own, trying to play catch up and obviously, wanting to be the best. And, that's how I feel. That's something that I, kind of like. That's what I really liked about him. And I didn't want to pick the character that everybody else picked.
Right.
Like
Well,
everybody loves Goku, everybody loved Team Gohan and things like that. So I wanted to pick that guy that not everybody was rocking with, and Vegeta's definitely that guy for me.
well, do people agree that you are Vegeta in a way because you kind of come across more as Goku, as your personality and how you kind of attract people to you?
I mean, I think it could be both ways. I think Goku's an idiot. That's just me. he's more of a happy-go-lucky type of person, which I'm not like that. So I mean, I'm not as like mean or anything like that, like Vegeta is, but there are things that I can pull from his personality, like just being protective over his family. Someone who wasn't like that before he had a family. So just little things like that, I think I pull from the way he is.
I see. So you mentioned Attack on Titan and Naruto, but do you identify with any characters from Attack on Titan?
I really don't. I actually don't. Because I only watched like halfway through the first season, maybe the whole first season. I don't. I was close to finishing, but nah, I didn't jump in. I didn't dive into it just too much.
Oh, well, how about Naruto? Because I don't know, it's either you're a Naruto or Dragon Ball fan, at least from my fandom area.
Yeah, like that's what I've heard too. So like for me, obviously, people will say what one's better than the other. So I'm like, like I want to see, because like I like Dragon Ball, but if Naruto's better, I'll say it. But it's just so many fillers, man. I'm like, oh my God, I don't think I can watch all the way through this.
So any animes you just don't like? Like, are you like a Bleach, not an anime? A lot of people don't like Bleach. Are you like one of those people too? Or
for me, for me to really judge one, like I need to watch all the way through it, because like I'll catch episodes here and there to where like you're probably in like the middle of the story and you don't really know what's going on yet. So I haven't just used my time just to get through another one.
Cool. Okay, so I'm just curious. So for somebody who doesn't know about anime, like how would you introduce them to it? Like you mentioned about your fiance, but what about someone who's outside of your orbit? Like especially like one of your teammates or staff and on your the Kings or something. How would you what would be the gateway anime for you to tell them to watch or partake in?
For me, it'll probably be Dragon Ball Z, like starting off there, because if you start with like Dragon Ball, for me, I think it starts off really slow, so people will lose interest in it, and you pretty much want to pull people in, and because that's so like with Power, when Power was really popular, like I watched the first episode of like season 4 before I ever watched an episode before. So I'm watching that, and like now I'm like, wow, like I need to go back and actually start this thing over and watch it all. So I think that you should definitely start with Dragon Ball Z, because it kind of starts off right in the middle of it, where Goku's already grown up, he's had his son, his brother comes, it's already about to be a fight scene, and I think that'll pretty much pull people in. And then if they really want to go all the way back and watch all of it, then I think that's really a good place for it. But I think a lot of times like if you go all the way back to like the first episode of something, I think it's pretty hard to really pull an audience in.
I see, but you don't recommend Super or the original Dragon Ball?
Actually, I love Super. Like I actually watched Super in the sub. Like I was watching and because it was coming out every week that I was in college, so I was watching it then, and even my senior year of high school. But I think I would start off with Dragon Ball Z. I definitely would.
Okay, that's great too. Any story arcs that you recommend?
My favorite, at least, is the Cell saga. But I think that like starting it off, I think that if you started from the first arc, like Raditz, I think shows up like the second episode, I think. So like it pulls you in extremely quickly. Like you start learning like that's his brother and things like that. Now like you really want to know more. So I think starting off in the first arc of Dragon Ball Z is definitely a good place to start.
All right, cool. So do you read manga as well, or
funny thing, I actually have all the mangas, I think, for Z, but I've never read them. I know like they flip backwards and stuff, and I saw some like when I was in high school, like just going through the library and things like that, but I've never actually read one.
But you have the all collections of Z?
Yeah, so I actually got it as a gift. I got someone gave it to me as a gift a while back. It's somewhere in my house, but I definitely still have them.
But it's a lot of them. I mean, there's stacks and stacks of them. So where would you put that? All those?
Man, I moved last August, so it's still boxes and boxes, like in the garage. So it's somewhere in there.
So, how about U.S. comics like Marvel or DC? How do you compare between those two, like manga and U.S. comics?
I read some comics like growing up, so like I was never really into mangas like that, just because one, I didn't like to read. But it's like a long story. It's more of a story. Like it brings you in. Like what you see on the screen is what you're gonna read really through the manga. So I always chose to watch it.
Hmm.
But as far as like comic books, like they will tell different stories. They'll branch off into you'll learn about someone else. You'll learn about someone new. So I was more so into comics than I was into reading the manga.
Oh, what about the MCU? Are you into that, like the Marvel MCU or the DCU?
I've never been like fully invested into it, but like
Really?
yeah.
Avengers, Captain America? No, we're just too
So
busy,
no,
or
I tried to watch all the Marvel movies from like starting from like the first Captain America, which was in like what 70 something, 80 something, like super old movie. I'm like, yo, I can't do this.
mm.
I tried. I'm like, I'm bored.
But you gravitate so easily to anime. Yeah, why is that? I mean, is that you think it's just your generation, or is this?
Well, I can't really speak for that, but for me, I think with anime, the story is a bit better for me. Like they can go a whole episode without a fight scene happening, and it's just something happening, or in the story could still progress without it having to be a fight scene. Whereas with like Marvel, for me, just watching even just watching movies, like I feel like the story doesn't pull me in unless they're fighting on the screen.
Mm.
So that's kind of the difference. It is for me. The stories in anime just I feel like it's able to suck you in better than like things like Marvel have, at least for me.
So, just curious. So, do you consider yourself? Of course, you're a world class athlete, but do you consider yourself a nerd, or it's
Uh,
just part of your life? It's just like anime and
I
manga.
mean, with all the people that I know that watch like anime and things like that, I don't necessarily say you could. I guess you could say like you have a bit of a nerd in you.
Is that okay with you, or?
Yeah, that's fine with me because I mean I'm a monster. I'm an athlete. I'm a monster athlete, so it doesn't really
Mm.
it doesn't bother me at all.
So, do you try to evangelize that to other athletes, that it's okay to be hardcore into anime and games and all that while still being a world class athlete?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't think they go hand in hand. So because I just got done watching Pretty Little Liars. I had a teammate in college that watched Pretty Little Liars, and like people were like, "Yo, why are you watching that?" And then I watched it. I'm like, "Yo, it's actually like it's a good show." So I don't know why some people really make them hand in hand. I don't just because someone has like a greater athletic ability or stronger things like that doesn't mean that you don't enjoy the same things off the court or off the field as someone who doesn't play that sport.
I see. Well, about that, it's just I haven't really heard of a lot of video game um, avid video game players and comic book readers and anime readers like you eh, since you actually. So, do you think you are kind of like the first of your kind
Oh
for
no,
reading?
trust me, it's a lot.
Uh,
It's a lot. I mean, like, because a lot of times, like, guys grow up, around the same era. They saw the same stuff on TV. Now, some guys probably won't, read manga or really dive into comic books like that. But as
mhm.
far as movies and like watching a show and binge watching like anime or Marvel, things like that, trust me, like, there are a lot of athletes that do.
So what's the atmosphere like that in the NBA then? Like, are there other athletes talking about manga and anime and games in the locker room or something or practice?
We've talked like my team specifically, like we've talked about it on the plane before, like making our son or our girlfriend, wife, whatever, watch like Dragon Ball Z or Avatar or something like that. So yeah, like a lot of guys do it. Like a lot of guys play video games, whether if it's Call of Duty, Madden 2K, hell, Zelda, whatever it may be. A lot of guys have different preferences for video games as well.
Yeah, let's talk about games. So, what are your aspirations for esports? Because in many interviews, you talk about that you wanted to be a pro gamer if you didn't make it as a basketball player. So, what are your thoughts about esports and pro gaming and if there's a future in it for you.
I definitely don't think there's a future in it for me, man. I've watched like CDL and the COD League, and when Fortnite had tournaments, I'm like, bro, there's no way in hell I could do that. But for me, like, I think down the line, if I can obviously, continue to learn about it and what's going on, for me, try to be able to like own my own team or be an investor or something like that. But for me to become a professional gamer, that's definitely not going to happen.
But you do like Call of Duty, so like, what version do you like? And
I'm more so with like I like the Modern Warfare series. I mean, Black Ops and all that's cool, but I'm more so for the Modern Warfare for sure.
What type of style of play in Call of Duty do you like to play? Are you like a sniper or like a?
So I used to hate people that quick scope, but like then I kind of learned how to do it a little bit and got better at it. But I'm more of like a run and gun type of person. I might have the most deaths on the team, but I definitely have the most kills. Some people are like, yo, I need this 3 KD. I'm like, yo, 1.34 is good for me. But I'm more run and gun. That's how I really play.
Is that effective for you overall? Or?
Oh, it's always been effective. It's always been effective. Like I used to get nukes and MOABs, all that.
Do you want to tell your people and tell us how your overall strategy, like when you go into a fight, whether it's a local play or on that play, what do you normally do? Just
wait on like the game.
Yeah, your method. Just normally on a random when you're randomly playing, like what would you normally do, like instinctually now?
Oh man, I'm running, jumping, slide canceling, everything. Anything that annoys people is probably what I'm doing.
All right, cool. Just curious, like about esports itself. Do you think it could rival pro sports sometime in the future?
I truly don't think it'll rival pro sports. Now, that's not to say that it's not being successful, because it's being extremely successful. But pro sports has been around for I don't know how long. I don't know when the first pro sport came about, but I think the difference is like with pro sports, people of all ages watch it. Whereas, esports and, depending on what game you're playing, like Call of Duty, Street Fighter, whatever it is, I don't think that they have, enough. I don't think they're touching enough. What am I trying to say? I don't think they're touching enough people yet. People, like I said, people of all ages are watching sports. Whether if someone played baseball when they were 10 years old, they're probably watching it when they're 50 or 60 years old. Whereas I don't think, gaming is doing that just yet.
And okay, but there's stadiums that are filled with people.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said, I think video gaming, I think esports is extremely successful, but it's not. I don't think it's rivaling pro sports just yet. Is it possible? Maybe, but I don't see it happening in the near future just yet.
So let's talk to Natashia. Natashia, can you talk a little bit about the comic you're working on with
you all? Yes.
Yes.
So one great thing that I heard De'Aaron say was that the story, right? The story is very key and very important. And a lot of the mangas have those elements within them that draws people in, such as like the dark fantasy, the science fiction, the thriller aspect, right? That's engaging. It keeps people engaged. It's something about the human spirit that really just likes that kind of anticipation type of emotions that it can trigger and spur up. So we decided to combine all of those elements within the story, the dark fantasy, the science fiction, the thriller aspect, along with staying in alignment with some of the realistic aspects of De'Aaron's life from what we know from what First Family has communicated as well too. So the story arc is mainly about, like I said before, AI. It's this battle between technology and the human spirit, right? How do we find that happy medium between both, right? Because now we're in this era where, everything is Zoom, everything is technology based. There's this national trend to push for a STEM movement, right? We're seeing more STEM type of marketing that's out there, right? So it's this whole kind of like tug of war between technology and just humanity, right? Our human spirit. So that's what is incorporated into the story. And like I've stated in other interviews, I normally follow the Joseph Campbell story arc, which is the Holy Grail type story arc where you have the main character who has to go through something, right? Go through ups and downs, climaxes, right? Until they can get to that Holy Grail. Because in life, we're all searching for a Holy Grail at the end of the day, right? We want to make our lives meaningful. We want to contribute meaningfully to society, right? We want to be intentional and purposeful. So that's the main element of it.
I see. Okay. So,
answer your question.
Yeah, it is. Well, I'm just curious, Deanne, if you read any basketball manga growing up or watched any, and even to you, Natasha, like, how would you? So, since we're doing none of us are Japanese, or how would you want to make this different from the slam dunk sort of Dear Boys or the Kokoro basketball anime and mangas out there? How would it be different?
Well, we want to make the story more rounded, right? Because, like De'Aaron said, it's all about the story. Most of the other ones are the ones that have been popular, like we've discussed before, Austin, have some sort of like story element to it, right? Whether it's romanticism or some sort of escapism there that's a part of the common story element. So we want to just make sure we have a rounded story, a story that has, like I said, the dark fantasy aspect, the science fiction, the thriller aspect, right? That makes the reader anticipate the next move or what's going to happen. And then we want that shock factor in there as well too. So I think in that sense, it will be different from other stories that are more so centered just on basketball only, because we want to see De'Aaron's emotions come out in the story as well too, and then other relationships that he has with other characters within the story, such as his family and family first and so forth. So we just want to make the story more rounded in that sense. So hopefully that will give it that additional edge that's different from just a basketball centered story.
Okay.
I have a question. If there's no current NBA player with comic book out, or is it currently?
No.
Okay.
No.
Good. So we want to be the first.
So, Dan, when we talked about how you're drawn into anime. So, what type of what in the story you're looking at in an anime that you like or that you're looking at for the first time that would make you get drawn into it?
I don't know, because I don't think it's always going to be the same thing. You know, sometimes it could be one or two scenes that pretty much happen. And it's like, wow, like I want to see what happened before that, or I want to see what happened right after that. I don't know, like, you know, every story that's being told isn't the same. So something that was just an eye catcher to me. Like I like using Dragon Ball as a reference. It's just the fact that, like I said, Goku, we all found out that he had a brother all at the same time. Me, the character, you know, everyone who's watching all found out at the same time. So it's like, all right, let's see what happens now. Let's continue to go forward, or let's go backwards and, you know, start over, since that was basically like the middle of it. You like that's if you're not starting from the beginning. So just something like that. Like she said, that's like a twist or a surprise or a surprise factor.
Okay, so we are talking about working on a comic book about you, around you. So, and you are an avid anime fan. What elements would you like in that you like from anime that you've seen that you like for your own comic?
I don't know, because every anime that I watch is about fighting, so I don't think it's the same as to what we're doing right now.
All right, so, well,
unless there's fighting,
there's a lot of basketball. Well, Frank, that's a good question. Like, I personally felt that a good manga or a good anime written by a creator is that they're writing based off what they know. So we all know that basketball is your life. You've just been a world-class athlete since high school and all that. So do you think it's important to just basically go with what you know, and that would basically um, get people interested if you're authentic with about what you know and you articulate that well into your story.
Yeah, I mean, for everything that I've watched and like listening to the creators talk, speak, and all the artists and things like that, is everyone continue to pull inspiration from different places and then basically combining them into a story. So obviously, it's always about being creative, but everybody always a character here and there has an inspiration from this and that, and then them just being able to basically blend it in, well. I mean, that's why that's a talent. Being an author and being an artist, like that's all a talent. So I think a lot of it is creativity and seeing where they can continue to gain information from and just being able to put it together in a story.
Did you do any writing growing up? Not, it doesn't have to be a comic.
Nah, the only class I was paying attention to was in math.
Math?
So I did no writing, drawing. I wasn't trying to read a passage. I didn't want to mix chemicals together. I didn't remember what war was. All I listened to was in math class.
Well, that's great.
It's universal language.
Hmm?
Math is a universal language, so.
Yeah, and you learn about logic that way through math.
Yeah, that was me. That was the class I was going to have an A in.
What kind of math? Is it just algebra?
I mean, I took algebra, pre-cal, college. I took college algebra. We had to take like geometry, but I mean, I was basically good in all of them. And then obviously chemistry and physics are science classes, but they have numbers in them, so it wasn't hard for those.
Can you make an anime off that? About calculus and algebra and all your attributes in math?
Hell, am I creative enough? No, I'm not creative enough.
Well, it's just all about what you know. So, yeah, okay. Well, I'm just curious. Have you ever been to Japan yet, or?
So I actually want to go to Japan. I've been to China twice, but I would love to visit Japan. That's one place on my bucket list.
Well, if you do go to Japan, are there any places that you know about that you want to go to? Like, as far as all the anime friendly places, what they call the Akira Harbor and Shibuya Station. Have you heard of those places?
What I was thinking about was more so sightseeing, but you definitely just put that on my radar.
Okay, well, thanks. So can you talk about the sushi roll that's named after you in Sacramento?
Yeah, so Mikuni, who's restaurant, who owns all the restaurants. We're just talking about doing a roll and bringing awareness to breast cancer and raising money and everything. I think we did it around Mother's Day, I believe so. But basically, I mean, we went through the process because DeMarcus actually has one there as well, and I actually get his every time I go too. But we're talking about, what do I want in a roll? And basically, I know nothing about making sushi. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, well, I don't know what'll be good. So it's like, well, what do you like? I'm like lobster. I want lobster to be in my roll. So what's in it? Do you know what's in it? It's like crab, lobster. I'm huge in seafood. I love seafood. So it's like crab, lobster, rice, avocado, and some type of sauce. I believe that's in it. So, but I get it pretty often. Piece of cucumber. Is it a piece of cucumber? Like a small piece. Oh, and like a small piece of cucumber. But yeah, I love seafood. Like, I'm from the South, so I ate seafood a lot growing up.
Did they give it a name in that restaurant?
Oh, it's just called the Fox Roll. Yeah.
The Fox. Do they sell it on the menu and?
I don't think it's on the menu anymore, but like you have to you can still ask for it though, but like everybody pretty much knows. So basically like a secret menu type thing, I guess.
That's cool. So I'm gonna check it. So the restaurant again is what? Mikuni's in Sacramento, downtown, or?
There's one downtown, Roseville, Folsom, and Elk Grove, and in Arden.
Cool. So, any last thoughts about your love for gaming or fandom behind it?
No, it's just I think, like I said before, everybody's is always different. Some people take it more seriously than others. Some people are into more games than others. Like, you know, a lot of people like to branch off. Like, obviously, everybody plays like the GTAs, the 2Ks, the Call of Duties. That's the majority of really what I played, because I think, like, the first game I think I've ever played was actually some fishing game. I had like a Dreamcast, like old.
Yeah.
And I started playing Call of Duty when I was in 4th grade. So like that's why that's something that I play all the time. Because like I said, I had an older brother, so he was playing violent games. So I'm like, hell, well, I'm gonna play too. And so I was like 9 years old. So I started playing that, and that's pretty much where my love for Call of Duty pretty much came from.
With the fishing game, did it have a rod or something? Or I'm trying to remember it. Like
I had to be like 5. Like, but I vividly, for some reason, remember playing some fishing game because we were also playing NBA Live, and that was when like T-Mac was in the league, and he was nice, and yeah, that was, I don't know why that's always the first game that I remember.
Oh, well, speaking of the NBA games, what are your thoughts on the 2K series? At least the late versions now.
Well, you know, I say that because everybody played live at first, and then I think the first 2K I started playing was 2K8 with Chris Paul on the cover when he was still in New Orleans. But you know, obviously, you know, they continue trying to make the game more realistic, which is hard, you know, from where you are, and you know, people are gonna like this, people aren't gonna like that, and obviously, I don't think it'll ever be a perfect game. Someone's gonna complain about something. I think they've been decent. Sometimes, you know, mechanics, they try to change the engine and things like that, and some things don't go well, and some things don't get fixed. But all in all, like, I think right now, like, they're making decent games. They're making good. These are the best games that you could possibly make at this point, really. But that's pretty much all I have to say. It's hard to make a video game character move like a real life character. Like, I think that will always be impossible to do.
Do you like your portrayal in the game and your ratings?
I'm fast as hell, but I definitely shoot better than they have me shooting in the game.
That's cool. Thanks for the interview. Thanks for the time and just letting us know that you're just like us when it comes to playing games and, you know, watching anime. Natasha, I'll give you this last question. So you're writing this comic book about basketball. So at basketball, when you're watching, it's such a very visual sport. You have to watch people move and shoot and foul each other. So how would you articulate the drama from what we see on TV into the actual comic book panels and scripting?
Right. So there's also lingo that goes along with that too, right? Jargon that goes along with basketball, right? For that industry. And also, I will have a co-writer on it as well, Andy Ikeakor, and he has played basketball for college and throughout, you know, his high school career too. So he will be giving input as well on making sure we stay in alignment with the jargon and the basketball lingo as well too, and translating it well over into the panels and making sure it's coming across authentically. I actually have one last question that I would like to ask De'Aaron. So De'Aaron, if there is one thing, what is the one thing that you would like for people to learn about you through this comic book that they may not be aware of or know about you?
I don't know. I feel like I live a very simple life. But for me, it's just that, I mean, I think like we're all the same. Like I said, like Austin's been saying, although yes, I'm probably more athletic and more athletically gifted and I play basketball, it's that we're pretty much all the same, you know, once we step off the court. So just seeing me as a normal person, someone who likes anime, play video games, like half the people my age. So pretty much just that.
And that you have a mathematical mindset.
Yeah.
Many people probably know that, right? That's interesting. So that's really cool.
to help you strategize in the game with your mathematical?
Nah, I'm not gonna lie. I don't have an eye like geometry, knowing that these angles gonna do this and this and that and that. But I mean, I know if I get my shoulder lower than your hip, I know I'm gonna probably get by you. So that's as simply as I can put it.
Thank you very much for the interview, Natasha, Andy, and Chris. And we're glad to get some insights on your fandom behind these things. And I'm sure everybody's going to enjoy it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Natasha, as well.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Good project.
Okay. Appreciate it, guys.
I want to thank De'Aaron Fox, Natasha, and Chris for taking the time to discuss fandom, video games, and anime, and everything that motivates De'Aaron in his life as a player and as just a regular guy. I'm glad we also got to talk about Swipa The Fox, the comic book series that's coming soon. You can learn more about Swipa The Fox at comicdistro.com. Now we're going to switch gears and talk with another member of De'Aaron's inner circle, Andy Ikeakor. We're going to go more detail about writing Swipa The Fox. We are here with Andy Ikeakor. He is also the writer for the Swipa The Fox comic alongside Natasha. And can you tell us your background in basketball?
Yes, I'm Andy Ikeakor. Nice to meet everyone. It's a pleasure. My background in basketball is I've been playing basketball since the age of 9 years old. Been playing high level pretty much all my life. God blessed me. Able to go to school for free with it. University of Tennessee, transferred to U of H. Career was cut short due to injuries. After finished playing basketball, I was coaching, training, consulting. My major thing now, I'm a basketball ambassador for the country of Nigeria. Try to bridge the gaps for the underserved youth out in Africa, mainly in Nigeria. Trying to even out the playing fields through my nonprofit. That's pretty much about me. I pretty much believe if you play basketball since a child and you've been a part of the sports for a long time, you're pretty much, I mean, that's what you know. So
this was your first time writing a comic, and when you wrote the first installment for Swipa The Fox, how are you able to describe the basketball gameplay into comic format?
What helped me with describing that was pretty much, I feel like that had a lot to do with my coaching, with my experience in coaching, able to break down plays from just breaking down film and watching step by step, being able to visualize the game and able to look back at old film and being able to and really focusing on the analytics of the game as well. So I can being able to put it down for the comic. So pretty much my experience helped me out on that. Thank God. Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, feel free to fill in to come in, Natasha, if you want, if you have any questions, or it's a group conversation. So just curious, I'm sure you've been exposed to some Japanese style basketball comics like Slam Dunk and Hoop Dreams. No, not Hoop Dreams. There's a whole industry of sports comics in Japan and especially basketball. How would you make this different from these well-established storytelling in Japan? How would you make it different here?
The way I would make it different, it's easy, just being me, being natural, because basically I'm not from Japan. The people we work with, none of us are Japanese or from Asian descent. So it's going to be different naturally because we're doing it from more realistic, from our point of view, and from a real basketball point of view, from the trenches, and really just so we're going to go inside the game you guys are going to see the game of basketball in a more different way than you're naturally seeing in comics. So especially from the big differences are ethnicity, you know. So this is we're pretty much an African American comic book, and De'Aaron Fox is African American. Most of the Japanese comics were mostly they were mostly Asian descent. So that's pretty much how it's going to be different. And I think the audience are going to be able to they're going to enjoy it. They're going to be able to learn more about De'Aaron. They're going to understand him as a human. They're going to understand him as his character because it's pretty much going to align with him. And that's what Natashia and I were pretty much trying to show, you know, the true sense of De'Aaron's nature, his alter ego, and how it aligns with him.
So what's your whole experience so far with comics and just the whole process? Because you're actually the mastermind behind the creation and the production of the entire collaboration with De'Aaron and his comic book concept and everything. So
I wouldn't say the mastermind. I give all glory to God, but he gave me a witty invention and something I just all came apart just with just knowing you guys, being close to Tasha and being close to Chris and De'Aaron and understanding them and seeing how this will be able to have an impact in the market. I feel like our people, the urban side, needs to really see, because when we were growing up, I used to get comic books, you know, Spider-Man, Superman. I had those comic books, you know. I used to read comic books. So a lot of us grew up reading comic books, and I think that if we started seeing ourselves more and aligned with stories that we are more accustomed to and understand more, and I feel like we'll get a audience, not just a different audience. We're trying to reach a different group of people as well. We want to reach pretty much everybody, just like the NBA does.
all right, so Natashia, you and Andy are working on this together. What's it like, I guess, sharing writing responsibilities and just your overall chemistry to make it work out?
Yes, yes. Like I stated before, we definitely want to incorporate your traditional sense of storytelling in there, such as like the science fiction, the thriller side, the fantasy side. So all of those types of, you know, traditional story elements will be incorporated into it. What's great about working with Andy is that I'm getting this deeper insight into the basketball world, the basketball industry, from the lingo and the jargon to the mannerisms to the social etiquette, right? There's an etiquette that is attached to it as well, too, that how they interact with each other, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, right? And so getting that deeper insight is just giving me a greater, it's broadening my perspective just as another additional writer, as a co-writer, as well as, you know, an observer too, of just how complex that world can be, right? There's so many different intricacies within the basketball industry, the sports industry as a whole. So I think this is great that we are able to share this part of the basketball world with everyone, from, you know, seeing the sports management side to seeing what it means to be an ambassador side to just, you know, how families incorporated into it, right? And just how different, you know, customs that are orchestrated within it as well. And just as what Andy said, we do want to incorporate more of that urbanized perspective, that representation of the urban culture within it too. And even some, you know, West African culture into it as well too, because urbanization, especially from Black America's perspective, stems from West Africa as well. So it's going to be different in that sense from the cultural innuendos that we will place into it, but the audience and the readers will still see the same traditional elements of, you know, science fiction, fantasy, and thriller, the thriller side of it, right? That you see from different plot climaxes and everything. And again, as I stated before, I do follow the Joseph Campbell's hero model, right? Where you have the main character go through so many ups and downs because they're trying to get to their holy grail moment, right? Which we're all trying to reach, that holy grail moment where it's the moment where we have contributed something meaningful to our lives, right? So that's, I would say that would be all the elements in what makes it special. And then the synergy between Andy and I, he's definitely giving me that deeper insight and broadening my perspective as well as the sports industry as a whole.
Cool. All right. So anything else you want to add on about anything, like your vision and your outlook on how things will turn out with working with this new comic with Darren?
My vision, I just have a positive outlook. Honestly, I feel real good about it. I feel good about our team. It's been a pleasure working with Tasha and you. The vision is the limit. The sky's the limit for this comic. You know, I mean, everything that we can add on to it, all the gaps we can bridge through this comic book, and just allowing De'Aaron Fox to be a household name, because with the guy who he is, the status, the world needs to know who he is. You know, he's not a normal young man. You know, he's a real solid young man. He's not your stereotypical young NBA pro. No, he's not. You know, so he's a family man. He works hard. He goes home at night. You know, he doesn't run the streets. You know, his yes is his yeses and no's is his no's. So I think the world needs to know about Swipa, and they will after this. And that's pretty much our goal. Everything else will be a blessing. But I think with the team that we have, and with the collaboration with Family First, I think it's going to be we're going to have an awesome future.
Right. Well, thanks a lot. And
I do want to add something too. I think De'Aaron is going to give a great, he's going to add a different representation to the comic book world, to fans, right? Like Andy said, he will provide another representative model behavior or role modeling, right, to fans, where see a different side to what the comics can go to, what they can be, right? So I think I'm very positive about it too, and I'm excited. And De'Aaron is a mathematician too, so that will come out as well too. Which I think many people know, so that's great.
Thanks a lot for the interview, everybody, and good luck with the comic.
Thank you, Austin.
Thank you. We're excited. Thank you.
Okay, that was our panel with De'Aaron Fox, Natashia McGough Clarke, Chris Gaston, and Andy Ikeakor. She was happy to talk about De'Aaron's fandom and love for anime and video games. And we also discussed about Swipa The Fox, the comic book series. Again, you can find out more on comicdistro.com. Learn more about eigoMANGA from eigoMANGA.com. And we're just happy that you joined us. Enjoy the rest of the convention.